والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. I've got a few weeks off for the Milad Mahafil, the Sira classes, and last week we had another Mahafil elsewhere. So after 3 weeks we reconvened. The question was posed about the Mubarak, the blessed hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which we all had the honor to make ziyarah of during the third night of the gathering of Mawlid al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Shar'i Haysiyat al-Hussein Urdu, the legal status of such relics, particularly those of the dear Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And like always, how our ulama tackle such questions is first by going to our first point of reference and the primary source of Islamic law, which is the Quran and Majid. And there are various places in the Quran and Majid that mention these holy relics, from where we can then deduce the rulings attached to them. And the first ayah which we'll look at is from Surah Al-Baqarah, and it's ayah number 248. And this is talking about the time of Musa alayhi salam and the time before then. And Allah Ta'ala says, and I have tafsir Khazain al-Irfan. This is a hashiyah, a marginalia to Sayyidi Imam Ahmad al-Zakhar's translation of the Quran. So his translation of the Quran is Kanzul Iman. And then there's a marginalia, a very brief tafsir, a hashiyah, to that translation called Khazain al-Irfan, by his Khalifa, Sayyid Narimuddin Muradabadi, rahmatullah alayh. So the verse says, 248 of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقال لهم نبيهم إن آية ملكه أن يأتيكم التابوت. Which means that their prophet said to them that one of the signs of their kingdom is that a taboot, a casket, will come to them. Now, in the tafsir of this verse, Sayyid Naimuddin Muradabadi writes quite extensively about what is this taboot, this box, what was it and what did it contain. So this was basically a box which was 3 handspans by 2 handspans long and wide. So it's not very big, 3 handspans and 2 handspans wide. And this was the casket which Allah Ta'ala sent down upon Adam alayhi salam. So this existed in the time of Musa alayhi salam, but it was first sent down in the time of Adam alayhi salam. So I'm translating as I go along here from Urdu into English. The tafsir is in Urdu. And it contained the images of all the prophets, the images. But later on, as it's going to be explained, these images weren't hand-drawn. Okay, so no one should take a ruling from here about hand-drawn images. These were miraculous images, natural images, that were contained within this box. And this box also contained images of the homes of the prophets, where they're going to live, their homes. And even the home and the place of residence of the last Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there was a picture of that as well in this tablet, in this box. And how our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is pictured in this tablet is he is standing up and he is offering salah. So every Prophet was shown in this tablet, their images were therein. And our Prophet ﷺ is shown standing in qiyam praying salah. So that's how his image was in this tablet. And around him are his Sahaba, his Sahaba, his companions, are with him. And Adam ﷺ had seen all of these images. And this tabut, this box containing all of these things, got passed down from generation to generation. And it reached Musa alayhi salam. Prophet Moses alayhi salam. And at the time of Musa alayhi salam, it also contained the Torah, the Torah. That's what it contained as well. And some of his belongings. So it contains some of the tablets of the Torah, what Musa alayhi salam received from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the tablets, the commandments which he got from the mountain, it contained those as well. It contained the staff of Musa alayhi salam, the asa, his staff, it contained that as well. Some of his clothes and his na'layn sharifain, his blessed sandals, the sandals of Musa alayhi salam. It contained the Imam Sharif of Harun alayhi salam, Prophet Aaron or Aaron. The Imam Sharif, his turban Sharif, and also his staff, his asa, and some food which was sent down upon Bani Israel, the Jews, the Banu Israel, the children of Israel. And when Musa alayhi salam would ever go into battle, whenever he was going to war, going into battle with his people, this casket would be placed in front of the army. They would place this box containing all of these images, and the Asa Mubarak, the Turban Mubarak, the Tawrat, they would place it in front of them. And when the Banu Israel saw this casket, their hearts would receive solace, their hearts would be at peace, that we're going into battle, but we have this with us. So Allah Ta'ala will bless us because of this casket, because of this tabut. And then after Musa alayhi salam, it continued to get passed down through Banu Israel. And whenever they had any kind of difficulty, these are the words of the tafsir, any kind of mushkil, any kind of problem or situation that they were in, they have any kind of difficulty or problem that they're faced with, they would put this tabut in front of them, and then they would make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is wasila, this is tawassul. And the Quran says they will actually be given victory because of it. They will be given victory because of it. So it's not, the tafsir isn't saying they would place it in front. What was the result? Don't know. No, the Quran is saying when they placed it in front of them, Allah Ta'ala will then give them victory because of it. SubhanAllah. And they would be given victory over their enemies because of this tabut. But when the Banu Israel became corrupted, so when they moved away from the original deen of Musa alayhi salam, and they digressed from the true Sharia, and their amal, their actions became lacking. So Allah Ta'ala then took this away from them. And another tribe took it from them, but they placed it in a dirty place. Something so holy, they left it in a dirty place, something obviously which it didn't deserve at all. And they disrespected it. They didn't show any honor to it at all. In fact, instead of showing it honor, like we've said, they actually showed a lot of disrespect to it, placing it in a dirty place, disrespecting it highly. And because of this, Allah Ta'ala then sent down a lot of punishments upon them. So for not respecting the relics of Musa alayhi salam, Harun alayhi salam, and the other prophets, remember this, because of not respecting them, Allah Ta'ala sent down a lot of difficulties upon them. And they were afflicted with various types of illnesses. By not respecting the relics of the prophets and disrespecting them, Allah Ta'ala sent down a lot of illnesses upon them. And 5 of their towns got destroyed. How many? 5 whole towns got destroyed because of their insolence towards these relics of the prophets. And then they became sure that why is this happening to us? It's because we have shown disrespect to the relics of the prophets. So they then took the box of relics, the tabut, and they placed it onto a chariot, and they sent it back. And the angels miraculously allowed this cart, horse-drawn cart, or by cows, back to Bani Israel. This is how it got back to them. The angels guided it back. And then they got ready for war against these people that had done these things.
And then 70,000 people were chosen to fight in this battle. Amongst them was Dawood alayhi salam. Yeah, the David and Goliath. This is it. So Dawood alayhi salam is one of those 70,000 who are chosen to fight. This is in Tafsir Jalalain and Tafsir Jumal and Khazin Madarik. So various Tafasir mention these things. So Faida, now the Mufassir writes the Faida. What do we take from these verses? Number one, we know from this that the Tabarrukat, the relics of the elders, the Buzurg, the respected people, to respect them and to show reverence to them is a must. We must show respect and reverence to them. And due to their barakah, their blessings, our du'as are accepted. Like the Quran mentions, because of these blessings and these relics, the du'as are accepted. And our difficulties are relieved by Allah Ta'ala. Mushkil kusha or hajat rawa. Our difficulties are removed because of them. And whoever, on the other hand, like the other qawm did, whoever shows disrespect to these relics, it will destroy them. Whoever doesn't show any respect to the holy relics, then those people will be destroyed, or Allah Ta'ala will afflict them with illnesses and various other things that happened to that other nation. And the other fact I mentioned is that the images, the pictures of the prophets that were in the Tabut, they weren't hand-drawn, they were from Allah Ta'ala. So they appeared miraculously, they were from Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. So that's the first verse, it's Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 248, which mentions the relics of the previous prophets. So this has an asl in the Quran. The blessed hair of the Prophet ﷺ that we saw in the Miladun Nabi, the Parahan Mubarak that we have in various parts of the world. For example, not too far from us in Hind, Khuldabad Sharif, every on the 12th of Rabiul Awwal, the blessed Jubba Mubarak of the Prophet ﷺ is shown to the people, and hundreds of thousands of people amass at one place to see the Parahan Mubarak, the Jubba Mubarak of the Prophet ﷺ. And various other relics are shown to the people, and they have the asl, the origin is in the Quran. It's not, again, we always mention this, it's not something that people made up later on in Islam, or some people exaggerate or bring things out that have no asl. These things have an asl in the Quran, like we've just mentioned, from the Quran. We have in Surah Yusuf as well, the mention of Yusuf alayhi salam, when he was away from his father for many, many years, perhaps 20 years or so, he was away from his father Yaqub. And Yaqub alayhi salam was so sad that his beloved son, his youngest son, and the one most beloved to him, Yusuf alayhi salam, has been taken away from him. So he cried, and due to excess crying for his son, Yaqub alayhi salam actually lost his sight. Then many, many years later, Yusuf alayhi salam finds out about this, that my father is still alive, and his brothers come to him. The same brothers who threw him in the well, later they find out that he has now become the leader of the king of Egypt, etc. And then they tell him that Yaqub alayhi salam, your father, he's become blind. So that when the 10 brothers had taken Yusuf alayhi salam, or the 11 brothers, one of them wasn't involved in the act, the 10 were. When they took Yusuf alayhi salam for the first time away from Yaqub alayhi salam didn't want to send him, and he said, he's very, very beloved to me, so look after him. And he waited at the door until they had gone out of sight, and then they came back and they brought his shirt soiled with blood, and they said the wolves have eaten him. But really they'd thrown him down the well, and he came out, and it's a long story. Before he sent them away, he had actually tied a ta'weez into his neck, an amulet. It was a shirt. Yaqub alayhi salam had given him that shirt. That same shirt now, years later, Yusuf alayhi salam sends back to his father through his brothers and says, my father has become blind, but use this shirt of mine because it's touched my body, place it upon his eyes, and his eyesight will return. SubhanAllah. And this is what happened. Again, this is in Surah Yusuf. It's mentioned in the Quran. I'll get the exact reference a bit later if I can, inshallah. So the Quran has various places where these things are mentioned. And the hadith are replete. The books of hadith are full of references like this. And we're going to concentrate on them now, inshallah, for the remainder. So tabarruk, we always hear these words, tabarruk, we hear it for relics, or we hear it even for blessed food, tabarruk, or other things. So tabarruk basically means deriving blessings from something once owned or touched by a holy person. Tabarruk. To derive blessings from something which was once owned or even touched, doesn't have to be owned, but touched by a blessed person, a holy person. And athar, or athar, plural, it means relics. Something left by them. Okay, a relic. And then it mentions that those people who deny the blessings, the tabarruk with the athar, tabarruk bil athar, we warn them that Allah Ta'ala Himself, like we've just mentioned, has mentioned the tabarruk of Prophet Yaqub in the Quran, the shirt. The shirt. Why didn't He say take another shirt? Why didn't He say do dua to Allah Ta'ala? He could have. That if Yaqub alayhi salam has lost his eyesight, let's make dua. I make dua, or you make dua, or tell him to make dua. He himself was a prophet, Yaqub alayhi salam. He himself is a prophet. But he says, no, take my shirt and place it over his eyes. Teaching the ummah that are to come later, that there is blessings in holy things. They're full of blessings. They're not worthless, or something that after it's been used you throw away. Anything connected to holy people, like the Quran is telling us, with the relic of his son Yusuf. And then the evidence of the tabarruk of the companions and the tabi'een through the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The hadith are so many in this regard, and we're going to mention quite a few of them inshallah ta'ala. We mentioned Surah Yusuf, verse number 93. So chapter number 12, verse number 93. Allah ta'ala says, go with this my shirt. So go with my shirt and cast it over the face of my father, and he will come to see. Yusuf alayhi salam is not saying, maybe then he will see. Maybe try this. You know how we say, try it. Yeah, when someone gives us a dua or a wazifa, try this, it may work. Yusuf alayhi salam is saying, take my shirt, place it upon his eyes, he will see. You see, these are prophets of Allah. That nearness to Allah Ta'ala, or this is their knowledge, perhaps he is seeing this in Lawh Mahfuz, that when this happens, he will see. He is saying he will see. He will come to see clearly. So when the caravan left Egypt, their father said, and this is a miracle of Yaqub alayhi salam, when they were so far away, by the way, Yaqub alayhi salam knew his son is alive. Okay. And he says, I knew within me that he is alive. And this is why I was waiting for that day. This is why he would always wait at the doorstep. And when they were so far away, he says, when they were bringing the shirt, I do smell, or I do indeed scent the presence of Yusuf alayhi salam. He could smell Yusuf alayhi salam when they were very far away from the town. That's Surah Yusuf. So now coming to the blessed hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's relics. What about his things that he owned, or things connected with him? So the companions, the Sahaba, did they do what we do, basically? This is where we take Aqidah from. This action of ours in the Miladun Nabi, and us, so the whole mosque, making a line and coming to see the blessed hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not turning their back even. Where's the asl for this? So first chapter is tabarruk with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam's blessed hair and his nails. The hair and the nails of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mu means hair. Mu mubarak, mu. There are countless ahadith on this. First one is Sahih Bukhari. And a lot of these are in the Sihah, are from Sihah Sitta, and in particular Sahih Bukhari. A lot of these are hadith. Imam Bukhari narrates in his Sahih, in the chapter of clothing, or in the book of clothing, what is mentioned, and the chapter is, what is mentioned about the grey hair. So they have specific chapters. What is mentioned about the grey hair? And Sayyidina Usman ibn Abdullah ibn Mawhab, he said that my family, they sent me to Salama. They sent me to Sayyidah Salama, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They sent me with a cup of water. Okay. And when I went there, Sayyidah Salama, she came out with a silver bottle. She had a silver bottle, a small one, and it contained one hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he has come from his family. His family have told him, you go to Salama. When he gets there, Sayyidah Salama, they have the conversation. She brings out a silver bottle which contains one hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they say that it used to be in that time, anyone who came under the evil eye, what we call nazar, debt, evil eye. We say nazar lag gaya, nazar, evil eye. This exists. Anyone who came under the evil eye or who became ill in that time of the companions, Sahaba, they used to send, similarly like this Sahabi did, Sayyidina Usman, they would send a cup of water through which she would pass the blessed hair. She would pass the blessed hair through this cup of water, and then people would drink it and gain shifa from it. Through the hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So is this an ordinary hair? Why don't they do it with their own hair? If it's the hair that's curing, then do it with your own hair. It's not the hair, it's the hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not any hair, but the hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Physically unique, physically unlike any other human being. Otherwise, why the Sahaba? You know, you're ill, headache, or you have evil eye, do dua. Make dua. They could have done that. I'm sure they did do that as well. But this was their action. And when they did that, and when they came to Salama, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ knew him the best. Why isn't she saying, what are you doing here? A cup of water, you want me to dip the hair? What's all this about? It's not logical. But she's actually doing it as well. And anyone who had that in Medina at the time, they would do that. So this is the hair of the Prophet ﷺ, which contains these blessings. Sayyidina Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Anas, famous Sahabi, he says that when the Prophet, this is in Bukhari Sharif as well, when the Prophet ﷺ shaved his head after the pilgrimage, so when he made Hajj and he had the halaq done, he shaved his blessed head, Abu Talha, he was the first one to take the Prophet ﷺ's hair. What do we do when we go to the barbers? See, and this is perhaps not the best way, but you know, balayam is something that, you know, has become so common and commonplace that they gather the hair and they're disposed of. But here, the Sahaba are vying for the hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Anas also says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam threw stones at the shaitan, the jamarat, the 3 stones, and then he made the sacrifice, and then he went to the barber. He go to the nai, the barber, to shave the right side of his head first, and then he began to give away the hair to the people. Sahih Muslim. So the first narration, you might say, but Anas is gathering the hair. That's a Sahabi's action, which are hujjah for us. The action of the Sahaba is proof for us. But Sahih Muslim is saying, the barber shaved the hair of the blessed hair of the Prophet ﷺ from the right side, and who distributed it? The Prophet ﷺ himself is distributing it. So this becomes an even bigger dalil. He himself is telling Anas, take my hair, give it to the people. He gave it to Anas, and Anas would then give it to the people. Distribute my hair. This is how this blessed hair reaches us. At that time, the Prophet, each human head has 100,000 hair. How many? 100,000 average. So imagine the Sahaba each took a blessed hair, and then it gets passed down through the generations. And the blessed hair of the Prophet ﷺ, the miracle is it grows and it multiplies. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4. So this is how it reaches us. Do you understand? It gets passed down. A lot of these hair even have a sanad. It's not needed, by the way. They don't need a chain going back to the Prophet ﷺ. Not for this. For hadith, yes. Not for the relics. It's not needed. Our ulama tell us it's not needed, but some even do. So the Prophet himself distributed these blessed hairs. Again, if there was no blessing in them, and if there were hair like any other people's hair, why is he distributing them? And in Sahih Muslim, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawood, it is mentioned that Talha was the one who is distributing the hair. The Prophet ﷺ gives the hair to the Sahabi Talha, and he distributes the hair. The Prophet ﷺ is telling him, go distribute the hair. So this becomes aqeedah for us. And it's also mentioned that when the Prophet ﷺ, he shaved his head in Mina, he gave me the hair from the right side, and he said, Anas, take it to Sulaym, take it to your mother. Sayyidina Anas was the son of Sulaym, take it to your mother. And when the Sahaba saw that the Prophet ﷺ is giving me his blessed hair, they also began to compete to take the hair from the left side. So when the Sahabi are seeing that the Prophet ﷺ is distributing hair here, they began to compete with each other. Remember, some of the hadith mention not about the hair, but about the water that he has used for wudu. The Maulana mentioned on Miladun Nabi, the hadith mentions the words that the Sahaba were very near to fighting each other for that water. Ashidda'u ala al-kuffar, ruhama'u baynahum. The Sahaba were like brothers to one another. Ruhama'u baynahum, so merciful upon one another. But for the remnants of his blessed water from his blessed body from wudu, they're fighting each other. These are people who are that close to each other. But for that water, I don't care who you are, I want that water.
Subhanallah.
Allahu Akbar. So when they saw that the Prophet ﷺ is distributing the hair, they also competed with each other to get the hair from the other side of the blessed Prophet ﷺ. This is in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. And everyone, it mentions everyone was getting a share from it. Everyone took a share from it. So this is how it reaches us. They all got a share from it and then passed down. For example, the keys of the Kaaba, the person who the Prophet ﷺ gave the key to 1400 years ago, that key is still with that person's family today. So things like that are getting passed down. That's one key. These are tens of thousands of blessed Mu'min Mubarak. So it's not illogical to think these things have reached us. And like we mentioned, miraculously the blessed Mu'min Mubarak, they grow, they multiply. So even if, let's say, for argument's sake, there was only one, 1400 years later, this will become many anyway. It's narrated that the Tabi'i, very famous Tabi'i called Thabit, he said to the Sahabi Anas ibn Malik, or Anas ibn Malik said to him, "This is one of the hairs of the Prophet ﷺ, and I want you to place it under my tongue." He was on his deathbed. So this person is on his deathbed. Allahu Akbar. So the Sahabi is saying to the Tabi, his student, Anas is saying to Sayyidina Thabit radiyallahu anhuma, that this is one of the hairs of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Anas had it. Remember, Sayyidina Anas is the one who was distributing the hair. He kept it with him. And he said, when I die and you place me in the grave, this blessed hair, you will place it under my tongue, in my mouth. And Sayyidina Thabit continues, I did as he ordered me to. I placed it under his tongue and he was buried with it under his tongue. The action of a Sahabi. This is the action of the Sahaba with the hair of the blessed Prophet ﷺ. Now, is that a greater thing to do, or is it us just trying to see the blessed hair? These people were doing things that great. What we're doing, inshallah, Allah Ta'ala make it that we can do more. But as adab, we don't even touch the hair. You know, we're not worthy to touch the hair of the Prophet ﷺ. And I've been to a few gatherings where, you know, where the blessed hair is brought in, and some people do try to take barakah. And touching the casket is fine, but trying to touch the actual hair, are we worthy enough to touch that hair? Okay, so, but the Sahaba were Sahaba. Sahaba, they saw the Prophet ﷺ with their own eyes. Another Sahabi mentions that he saw Khalid ibn Walid, Sayfullah al-Maslul. Khalid, Sayfullah, the sword of Allah, Maslul, unsheathed. He was the sword of Allah unsheathed. He was asking for the Prophet ﷺ's blessed forelock, the hair, and he received it. Why is the Sahabi asking for the hair? If it wasn't anything special, why is he saying, give me the hair? Let me have it, I must have it. Can you see the aqidah of the Sahaba? And he used to put it over his eyes and then he would kiss it. Over his eyes and then he would kiss the blessed hair of the Prophet ﷺ. And it is also very well known that he placed it in his helmet, the battle helmet, and where his Imam Sharif is tied. And he never faced a battle except that he won. Khalid ibn Walid, however many battles he was involved in, Khalid ibn Walid was the general and he won those battles. Someone can say, well, he's a very good fighter then. Yes, he was indeed a good fighter. But ask him himself, why Khalid? Someone asked him, why did you used to win all these battles? He says, because in my Imam Sharif, I would have the Mu'min Mubarak of the Prophet ﷺ. He's saying this himself. He's not saying, oh, I was good. You know, look at me, I'm Khalid. I'm good with the sword. The Prophet ﷺ called me Sayfullah. No. All those things secondary, primary, the Mu'min Mubarak in my helmet, in my turban Sharif. And he wore this in all of the battles. And it's narrated about him that once in the fighting, in the fierceness of the fighting, the blessed turban dropped, his turban dropped to the floor. And in the midst of battle, Khalid ibn Walid leaves fighting and he is going to look for the turban. After the battle, the Sahaba say to him, Khalid, you're in the midst of battle, the enemy is in front of you, and you're the general of this army. Obviously, you're the first person that they're going to go for. But you're not bothered about who's attacking you. You're looking for your turban. Why? He says, because I can't stand and I can't bear that the hair of the Prophet ﷺ is on the floor and I continue fighting. You see? Muhammad ibn Sirin, one of the Tabi'in, he said that one hair of the Prophet ﷺ in my possession, if I have just one hair of the Prophet ﷺ, this is more precious to me than silver and gold. More precious to me than silver and gold. And not just that, it's more precious to me than everything in this dunya and everything above us and everything in the dunya contained. He says, this is more beloved to me. One hair of the Prophet ﷺ is worth more to me than anything in this dunya. The dunya and everything in it. And that is also in Bukhari, and it's also in Bayhaqi in his Sunan Kubra, and Musnad Ahmad. Another hadith from Sahih Bukhari, Sayyidina Uthman, the same Sahabi, Uthman bin Abdullah bin Mawhab, he said that my people, they sent me with a bowl of water to Salama. So remember, he came with a cup of water, so they sent me with a bowl of water to Salama radiallahu ta'ala anha. And it was 3 fingers, he indicated 3 fingers, indicating the small size of the container, in which there was some hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the same words, Sayyidina Uthman says that if any person suffered from evil eye or any other disease, then that person would send a vessel, any vessel containing water, to Sayyidina Salama, and she would dip the hair of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam into it, and he would be drunk. Then people would drink that water. And he says, I looked into the container, actually looked inside it, and the container which had the hair of the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, I saw a few reddish hairs in there, reddish hairs of the Prophet ﷺ. Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, the most famous commentator of Bukhari, they say to date there are approximately, or at least 70 commentaries of Bukhari Sharif, 70 different shuruh, commentaries to this book, one book of Imam Bukhari. And the most famous is by the Shafi'i Muhaddith and Hafiz Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. He says in his Fathul Bari, volume number 10, page number 353, that they used to call the silver bottle in which the hair of the Prophet ﷺ was kept, Jiljalan. That's what they used to call this bottle. And this was in the home of Salama. And the other famous commentator of Bukhari, the Hanafi one, Hafiz Badruddin al-Aini, in his Umdatul Qari, volume number 18, page number 79, he says Salama had some hairs of the Prophet ﷺ in a silver bottle, and when the people got ill, they would go and they would obtain blessings from these hairs, and they would be healed by means of this blessing. They would be healed because of that. And if a person was struck with the evil eye or any other sickness, he would send his wife, so that person's wife would go to Salama with water, and she would pass the hair through it, the blessed hair, and that person would be healed after drinking it. So the value and the worth of the Mu'ay Mubarak of the Prophet ﷺ in the eyes of the Prophet ﷺ himself and of the Sahaba. The Prophet, we mentioned, he distributed it himself. Same with the nails of the Prophet ﷺ. The nails, again, is something that we regard, when we clip our nails, and they regard it to be very impure and dirty, and we dispose of them. And it's narrated with a sound chain, and as narrated by Imam Haythami in his Majmu' al-Zawaid, that the Prophet ﷺ, he clipped his nails, the blessed nails, and he distributed them amongst the people. Distributing nails amongst the people. When we clip our nails in the Sunnah fashion, and then the last is the one on the right. This is how you clip your nails. The first you go along here, and then towards the right, and then finally the thumb here, the Sunnah way. He's distributing his nails to the people. The Prophet ﷺ is doing this himself so that they can take barakah from his nails. Allahu Akbar. And I just remember the poetry that Allah Hazrat writes about the blessed nails. He says something about the moon, and then he says, no, I'm not talking about that moon, I'm talking about these moons, the crescent, because they like the crescent, you see. So Allah Hazrat does this a lot. He mentions something and you think he's talking about, for example, he says, Laylatul Qadr mein matla'il fajr haq. That in the night of power, Laylatul Qadr, matla'il fajr, when the sun rises, Laylatul Qadr mein matla'il fajr haq. So you think he's talking about Laylatul Qadr and matla'il fajr? No, he says, maang ki istiqamat. The straightness of the maang, the middle parting. So these are the Laylatul Qadr, and the middle parting is matla'il fajr. Subhanallah. So everything, they read the Quran and they see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tabarruk with the sweat of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, people claim physically, no, Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, he's no different to us. But, yes, astaghfirullah. The examples that we've given already a dozen examples from the Sahaba taking barakah from his blessed hair and his blessed nails, which shows that himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his Sahaba as a whole, ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'in, did not consider him to be like them, or he didn't consider himself to be like them. If he did, why is he saying, take my hair? So tabarruk with the Prophet ﷺ's blessed sweat, the perspiration, the holy perspiration. Sayyidina Anas narrates that the Prophet ﷺ stayed with us. They were related. So the Prophet ﷺ stayed at their house. And the Prophet ﷺ had his the mid-afternoon nap, the qaylula, the siesta. This is where the Spaniards get the siesta from, because the Muslims ruled Spain 800 years, and the Muslims would have qaylula, the siesta, mid-afternoon nap. So the Prophet ﷺ slept, and whilst the Prophet ﷺ, this is Arabia, so he is sleeping, the dear Prophet ﷺ is sleeping, and it's very warm, Asr time, Dhuhr, Asr time, very warm. So the Prophet ﷺ is sweating, and our sweat, when we come off the football pitch, or a person's been out, and a person is sweating, you want to stay miles away from this person. You're sweating, and go clean up first, have a shower, then come back. The Sahaba, how did they view the Prophet ﷺ and his sweat? Did they think now the same as we think about each other and sweat? So the Prophet ﷺ is sleeping in the home, and it's very warm, and he begins to sweat. So his mother, Sulaym, instead of doing what we do with each other, she thinks this is a perfect opportunity. She gets a flask. She gets a small shishi, a flask, and she begins to collect the sweat of the Prophet ﷺ. Remember, they were related. Begins to collect the sweat of the Prophet ﷺ. And the dear Prophet ﷺ awake. He is awoken by this. He wakes up. Sulaym, what are you doing? He questions. She said, Ya Rasulullah, this is your sweat, which we place in our perfumes. So some of this sweat we place in our perfumes, and it is the best of perfumes. And the Prophet ﷺ lets her continue doing what she's doing. No kind of rebuke or telling her off that, why are you doing this? My sweat is like your sweat. When she tells him, Ya Rasulullah, this is what I'm doing, he says, fair enough, fine. The Prophet ﷺ sweat, the blessed sweat Mubarak. And again, this might seem to us, collecting sweat. Sweat is dirty and it smells and it contains illnesses. But this is us, and this is the Prophet ﷺ. See, we can't equate and make an analogy between us and him ﷺ, or any other prophet, but especially our dear Prophet ﷺ. When Sayyidina Anas was on his deathbed, he instructed, because this is the same Anas, the son of Sulaym, who collected the sweat. So Sayyidina Anas, when he's on his deathbed, he instructed that some of this flask be used on his body. Sayyidina Anas, he says, he instructed that when I pass away, use this on my body before my funeral, and that's what the people did. See, when someone passes away, we buy the musk, the za'fran, and these other things, and we have to place it with the body, because a dead body decomposes and begins to deteriorate quite quickly because blood is no longer circulating. So we have to do all of these things. But Sayyidina Anas is saying, when I die, then all you need to do is get this flask and put some of this on my body. And people did that, and this is in Sahih Bukhari. And Ibn Sirin, the Tabi, he was also given some of Sulaim's flask. He was given some of it. Allahu Akbar. There are other narrations about the blessed sweat of the Prophet ﷺ that are not mentioned here. For example, I mentioned this in the Seerah class, that somebody's daughter is about to get married and they're not very rich, so they can't afford the best perfumes of Arabia. Arabia was known for the perfumes. So they come to the Prophet ﷺ, and our dear Prophet ﷺ gives some of his blessed sweat Mubarak, and you can give this to your daughter, and she applies it, and it remains with her for the rest of her life. That smell remains for the whole of her life. And we mentioned in the Seerah class, not just that, her children as well, and their children, and their children, 7 generations. How many? 7 generations. The smell, the beautiful scent of the Prophet ﷺ is still with them. The sweat of the Prophet ﷺ. How did the Sahaba take tabarruk with the saliva and ablution water of the Prophet ﷺ? So it wasn't just the hem mubarak, the nails, the sweat, the blessed saliva, something we are even more afraid of. A person, the sweat, okay, when a person is sweating, he himself, other people don't like your sweat, but you yourself don't mind your own sweat, to that extent. But saliva is even, a person doesn't even like his own saliva. As long as it's in your mouth, fine, we need it. Allah Ta'ala, this is the beauty of Allah Ta'ala's creation. We need that moisture in our mouth to be able to talk. We need that moisture, the saliva, that's what it's there for. The saliva has enzymes to break our food down. That's what the saliva is there for. So as long as it's in your mouth, fine. As long as it comes out, and let's say it's on your hand, your own saliva, would you put it back in? Your own saliva. So saliva is something, even considered even dirtier than sweat. Contains illnesses. This is why you have signs, perhaps not here, but in countries where there's no level of hygiene, don't spit, you don't spit, because it contains illnesses, it contains a stench. And there are numerous ahadith on this, and you can see Imam Al-Asqalani's Fathul Bari, volume number 10 for those. This hadith is narrated in Imam Bukhari's Sahih and Imam Muslim's Sahih, that the companions would compete. So the words of the hadith here is translated as compete. Allama Azmi quoted the words of the hadith. The companions were near to fighting each other. The Sahaba, you can never imagine them fighting, but here, compete for whoever would get the remnant. Remnant means leftover. Remember, leftover wudu water in the Hanafi, at least in the I don't know about the other madhahib, but in the Hanafi madhab, it becomes impure. You can't use it to purify again. Once you've used the wudu water, you can't use it now. It's a ghair mutahhir, you can't use it to purify again. But here, this is used water of the Prophet ﷺ, which is made wudu with. So the companions would fight each other, compete with each other to get the remnants of the Prophet ﷺ's wudu water in order so that they can put it over their faces. So something that he has used, it's used water, ma' musta'mal this is called. And the fuqaha have whole books on ma' musta'mal, what is ma' musta'mal. One of Ala Hazrat's very first rasail in volume 1 is on ma' musta'mal, used wudu water and the rules, the laws. This is ma' musta'mal, but it's not the ma' musta'mal of mine or yours. This is the ma' musta'mal of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Sahaba are collecting it. Urwa goes to Hudaybiyah, and the Quraysh said to him, go spy on what are the Muslims doing. He sees one man in the middle making ablution, and there is, like they're doing tawaf. They're not doing tawaf, tawaf is only for the Kaaba, but they gathered around him like circumambulating around the Prophet ﷺ, and he sees that he is making wudu, and these people catch the water before it touches the floor. Not even a drop of water is allowed to touch the floor. They catch it and they rub it over their faces and all over their bodies, and they are very argumentative about it. What about those behind who can't get, the ones who came later, or those perhaps who weren't as strong, get to the front? What about them? They would touch the Sahabi that did. That Sahabi that did take, they would touch him and then take blessings. The water of the Prophet, even the blessed saliva of the Prophet ﷺ. Because he's not like us, we can't equate him or analogize him with us in all of these things. And in the Sharha, Imam Nawawi, the major Shafi'i scholar of the 8th century, Imam Yahya bin Sharaf Nawawi, and he says in his Sharh Muslim that in these narrations there is evidence for seeking blessings with the relics of the saints. Because the Sahaba are doing it with the Prophet ﷺ, the rule is anything that is allowed as a mu'jiza for the Prophet is allowed as a karama for the saints. So here we can do the same with the awliya in our times. As long as they are awliya, as long as they are saints, then we can take tabarruk and blessings from them. The Prophet ﷺ, by the way, we've mentioned this before, when we say in every gathering, to say sallallahu alaihi wasallam once or salawat once is wajib. So we'll fulfill that now. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to heal the sick. The Prophet himself sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would heal the sick people with his saliva mixed with some earth. So saliva mixed with the earth. And he would say the words Bismillah, the soil of our earth, with the saliva of certain ones amongst us. So Bismillah, the saliva, the earth, soil of the earth, mixed with the saliva of the ones amongst us, shall heal the sick people with the permission of Allah Ta'ala. Our Prophet, his own action. Again, so if he thought, if his aqidah was, I am a human being, and so is Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr, today you do it. Let's take some earth. Abu Bakr, you mix your saliva. I mean, for us, we would do that, because for us, he is Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. But to show the superiority of the Prophet ﷺ, and to show that he is unique and unparalleled and unmatched, and even though he is a human being, no one denies that. Sayyidi Ala Hazrat writes in Fatawa Ridawiyya, volume number 6, anyone who denies he is a bashar, he is a kafir. When did we say he is not a man? You've not heard a responsible Sunni scholar say that. No, what they do say is, we are men, the Prophet ﷺ is a man, but in his being human being, he is far superior to us. It's like somebody picking up a stone off the street, then going to the best jeweler in town and bringing a diamond and saying these two are the same. Why are they the same? Oh, because they're stones. Someone will explain to him, yes, obviously the diamond is also a stone, but there's a world of difference between them. In name, yes, this is a pebble off the street, is a stone. A diamond is also a stone. In the same way, we are human beings. Rasulullah is also a human being, but in him being human being, there's a world of difference, as we can see from these narrations. Allah Ta'ala calls him Noor in the Quran. Allah Ta'ala calls him Sirajum Munir in the Quran. Allah Ta'ala calls him Rahmatul lil Alameen in the Quran. And there are so many, hundreds of ahadith which mention the tabarruk. That's just the tabarruk. Never mind his other unique attributes, his nur, physical nur of the Prophet ﷺ, and his other thousands of miracles that are mentioned in the hadith. That's a separate topic. Just the tabarrukat, hundreds of hadith regarding it. So the Prophet ﷺ, through his own actions, healing the sick people, mixing earth with his saliva. The Prophet ﷺ, on one occasion, he ordered everyone in Medina and then in Makkah Sharif as well to bring their newborn children. Bring your babies, newborn babies to me. And then he would read something, and then he would do the naf, what we call the naf and the tifl. So the breath of the Prophet ﷺ and the saliva, and then he would instruct their mothers. Then he would instruct them. So we'd read something, into their mouths, and then the nafth and the breath mixed with saliva, and then he would instruct their mothers. So he's put the breath and the saliva into their mouths, and then he would say to the mothers, don't suckle them now. That day now, there's no need to suckle them until the nightfall, because they have the blessed saliva of the Prophet ﷺ. They don't need to be fed now, and don't feed them now till the night. Sahih Bukhari again, that was. And there were at least, we have the names of 100 Sahaba, Ansar and Muhajirun, who were given this blessing. So when they grew up, it was mentioned to them, you were one of those 100 that had this, that the Prophet ﷺ, into your mouth, he read something and he placed his blessed saliva. Very fortunate people, the Sahaba, that not just seeing the Prophet ﷺ, but these actions of having his relics and physically having the Prophet ﷺ saliva given to them. Tabarruk with the Prophet ﷺ cup. So now see, so far we've mentioned the blessed hair, and we've mentioned the nails, and the blessed sweat, the saliva. These are all parts of the Prophet ﷺ himself. They form part of him himself. Now, tabarruk with his cup. Now his cup is not a part of him. It's something he used. It's not a part of his body, the cup. Something that he used. Tabarruk with that as well. Not just parts of his blessed body, but with the cup. And Hajjaj ibn Hassan, he mentions that we were at Sayyidina Anas's house, and he brought up the Prophet ﷺ's cup. It was out of a black bag, so out of a black pouch. He brings the blessed cup of the Prophet ﷺ, and he ordered now that it be filled with water, and we all drank from it. We drank from this blessed cup, and then we poured some of it over our heads as well. We poured some of it over our heads and over our faces, and then we sent blessings, salatu salam, on the Prophet ﷺ. And that's mentioned by Imam Ahmad and Ibn Kathir as well. So taking blessings from the Prophet ﷺ's cup, because he drank out of it, even if it was once, then that thing becomes blessed. That thing now, because it's the Prophet ﷺ's cup. Number 5, tabarruk with the Prophet's mimbar, the pulpit of the Prophet ﷺ. Again, not part of his body. Somewhere where he sat or stood. Somewhere which has had contact with the Prophet ﷺ. Basically, like the cup, something which has had contact with the Prophet ﷺ. Sayyidina Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma. Ibn Umar is known for his stringent following of the Sunnah. Very strict in following the Sunnah. Sayyidina Ibn Umar. He used to touch the seat of the Prophet ﷺ's mimbar, and then he would wipe his face for blessings. People say to us, wiping the faces, where does this come from? Wiping faces. Sayyidina Ibn Umar, who knew the Sunnah better than the Sahaba? Or who knew the Sharia better than the Sahaba? This can't happen. He's touching the place where the Prophet ﷺ sat, and then rubbing it over his face. This is Sayyidina Umar, so a major Sahabi. And this is mentioned in so many books like Ash-Shifa and the Tabqat of Ibn Sa'ad. And it's from Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, and Sayyidina Jabir, Abu Imama and Malik. That the Prophet ﷺ also, he would stand on the mimbar and he would take oaths while standing on the mimbar. He made it a sunnah to, whilst he's on top of the mimbar, to take oaths on top of the mimbar. The Sahaba even took tabarruk, blessings, from the money that the Prophet ﷺ gave to them. For example, Jabir, he once sold a camel. He sold a camel to the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet ﷺ, there was a sale price agreed. The Prophet ﷺ said to Jabir, to add 1/12 of a dirham to that, a qirat, 1/12 of a dirham. So, for example, that the price is agreed 10 dirham, let's say. 10 dirham have this camel. The Prophet ﷺ paid him the 10 dirham. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, Jabir, take some more. This is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ with his Sahaba, that we should look out for the welfare of Muslims. So he said, no, 1/12 of a dirham more. And Sayyidina Jabir says that the Prophet ﷺ's addition, that 1/12 of a dirham, that will never leave me. And he kept it with him till the day that he died. He kept that with him. It's the money that the Prophet ﷺ gave to him. And that's also in Sahih Bukhari. The seventh type of tabarruk is tabarruk, taking blessings from the Prophet ﷺ's asa mubarak, the staff, the asa. When Abdullah bin Anis, he came back from one of the battles, he returned from a battle, and he had killed Khalid ibn Sufyan. The dear Prophet ﷺ gifted him his staff because he had done well in this battle. He had killed an enemy of Islam. The Prophet ﷺ gifted him his own staff, and he said to him, "This staff will be a sign between me and you on the day of judgment. This staff will be a sign between us on the day of judgment." And after that time, this Sahabi Abdullah bin Anis radiallahu anhu, he never parted with it, and it was buried with him when he died. They buried him and they put this staff with this Sahabi. And Qadi Iyad, the famous, very famous Maliki scholar of Spain, in his Ash-Shifa, he gives a title to a chapter, Esteem for the things and places connected with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Qadi Iyad, his Ash-Shifa is 1,000 years old, or more than that. Qadi Iyad is a contemporary of Huzur Ghazi Azam radiallahu anhu, contemporaries, Qadi Iyad, in his Ash-Shifa. So this is the belief of those people in those times, writing chapters, esteem for the things and places connected with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is how those Muslims used to think, and alhamdulillah we do as well. Well, unfortunately, small minority of people who are now dissenting from this. And he mentions that when another Sahabi, Juhja al-Ghifari, he took the Prophet ﷺ's staff, he took it from the hands of Uthman. Now what this person tried to do, sorry, he wasn't a Sahabi, the Sahabi was Uthman. He took the staff of the Prophet ﷺ from Uthman, forcefully took it from him, and he tried to break it across his knee. The staff of the Prophet, this person tried to break it. Now what happened to his knee? Infection seized the knee. So he got an infection in it, which led to his leg having to be amputated. He had to amputate his leg, and before the end of that year, this person died. Can you see? He has shown disrespect to the asa of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is the asa a part of his body? No, it's something that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has touched, or it belongs to him, or he uses to walk. When he walks, he would have the asa. It's not a part of his body. So someone who has disrespected just the asa mubarak of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he tried to break it. First an infection, then they chop his leg off, then before the end of the year, he goes to hell. He dies, this person, for disrespecting the asa mubarak. So imagine the severity of punishment Allah Ta'ala has in store for that person who disrespects the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, or those tabarrukat that are part of his body, like we mentioned. You know, the asa mubarak isn't as holy as the sweat mubarak, obviously. That's a part of his body. The saliva mubarak, the nails, the blessed hair. So disrespecting them or not respecting them enough should be a cause for concern for those people who say, Miladun Nabi, you're looking at the hair, why? Leave it, what's so special? These people need to think before they speak. This could be very serious trouble that they land themselves in this dunya, like this person, in this dunya, and obviously in the hereafter as well. But Allah Ta'ala, when someone insults the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Ta'ala doesn't even let that person live peacefully in this dunya. For example, the kuffar in this dunya, they have a very luxurious life, then they die, and then the atonement awaits for them in the hereafter. But the insulter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the torment comes in this dunya as well. This is how serious this is. Worse than the kuffar, because he has directly insulted the asa mubarak of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or any of his other relics. Tabarruk with the Prophet ﷺ's shirt, his jubba mubarak, the shirt. Sayyidina Jabir says that the Prophet ﷺ came, and Abdullah bin Ubay was in his grave. This is the leading munafiq, Abdullah bin Ubay of Medina. And the Prophet ﷺ ordered that he be brought out of the grave. And then The Prophet ﷺ, he placed his hands on his knees. And then the Prophet ﷺ gave him the shirt. He gave this person his shirt for blessings. There are various reasons the scholars say if he was a munafiq, then why is the Prophet ﷺ blessing him with the shirt? Various reasons. One reason is Abdullah bin Ubay, his son was a very staunch Muslim. He was a Sahabi Rasul. He requested this. So the Prophet ﷺ didn't turn him away. Another reason mentioned is when Sayyidina Abbas came to Medina Sharif and he needed a shirt, he didn't have any shirt. So the only shirt that would fit him was the shirt of Abdullah bin Ubay. Abdullah bin Ubay gave him the shirt. So the Prophet ﷺ didn't want someone later to say that Abdullah bin Ubay did a favor for your uncle, you didn't repay him. So the Prophet ﷺ gave him. Even though this person was a munafiq, he was a hypocrite, Abdullah bin Ubay ibn Salul, he was the leader of Medina, he wanted to be the next king of Medina. Then the Prophet ﷺ comes to Medina and all his plans are shattered. The Prophet blessed it, gave him his blessed shirt. And then after that the rulings came that you're no longer allowed to pray for the munafiqun and to stand at their graves, etc. It was after this that those rulings came. But even for the munafiq, the Prophet Islam gave his blessed shirt, and he asked for it. This person had asked for this shirt as well, and his son has said as well. So the Prophet ﷺ didn't want to say no to them. So this chapter of Tabarrukat, it's already been nearly an hour, and we're not even halfway through. So inshallah next week, if it's okay with everybody, we continue, because there's a lot of parts. Tabarruk with the Prophet, places of prayer, and Tabarruk is a very obviously big one for us. Tabarruk with the Prophet, grave Mubarak, his blessed grave in Madinatul Munawwara, and so many ahadith. Tabarruk with his Jubba Mubarak. So we can say Tabarruk with the Jubba. We're going to give the evidences as well. So if you say to someone Tabarruk with the Jubba, where? Who did it? So we give the references. Tabarruk with spots and people the Prophet had touched. Okay, all of these things will be mentioned. So tabarrukat with everything to do with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tabarruk with the soil and vegetation of Medina. Tabarruk with his blessed hands and feet. Allahu Akbar. So tabarruk with so many things. His blessed skin. Back to the parts of the Prophet ﷺ, his blessed body. Tabarruk with all of these things. But already we have mentioned so many narrations, and not from the latter scholars, but directly from the Sahaba themselves and the Prophet ﷺ himself, so that there is no room for any kind of dispute even. The Prophet himself instructed his Sahaba to take tabarruk from him, and the Sahaba using their own, sometimes like Sulaim, she didn't say, Ya Rasulullah, can I? Yeah, she took the blessed sweat. When the Prophet awoke, he said, what are you doing? And then by him not telling her off, that becomes Sharia. Because a prophet, any prophet, if something happens in front of them, if that thing was wrong, they have to stop it. They would. They don't say, Maslihah, I'll do it later. That becomes sunnah for us. So that becomes sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ didn't tell her off, he let her continue. So that's sunnah takriri. Something that happens in front of him that he doesn't challenge. So that becomes allowed. That becomes part of the Sharia. So we will continue with this inshallah next week, and try to find another hour inshallah. Normally the Tuesday class is about 45-50 minutes. We'll try to find an hour with the tabarrukat. And I've just thought, after the tabarrukat inshallah, we can talk about the nur of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the blessed hand. Just the blessed hand. We can do easy 2 lessons on the touch of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to show his superiority, because this is the month for it. We're in Rabi' al-Awwal, and it's only 19th of the 20th we've come into now. So we have many days left to discuss the Prophet. We'll discuss him obviously outside of Rabi' as well. It's not, but it's a special month of his birth where we'll mention him even more than we do outside of the month. Otherwise, for Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, it doesn't matter if it's Rabi' or Ramadan. It's all about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like Allah Ta'ala instructs us. So we'll continue next week. Same time, Isha, I think it's still 7:30, so it'll be 7:50 or so. We'll pray with Jama'ah and then carry on afterwards. Allahumma salli ala